What's up, everyone? DJ Nubis here with you on the Mealtime Radio podcast with another episode of Lone Wolf with Dub. Today, I'll be speaking a little bit about 2000s Versus, a Japanese zombie action horror film directed by, and I'm a bit terrible with these names, so give me a pass a little bit, Ryuhei Kitamura. Uh, Film basically is some of a plot where it says there are 666 portals on Earth that connect to hell. To gain the power of darkness, many seek to find the open where to open the portals are. Somewhere Japan exists the 444th portal known as the Forest of Resurrection. So really the film doesn't waste a lot of time getting into the plot, but here's some of our characters that we got in here. Also, Kitamura, like this is some of the things I kind of forget sometimes. Like I saw this way back in the day when it got first released, and a friend of mine had told me about it because it's around the same time he told me about Ichi the Killer, and so yeah, check out this movie called Versus. So I checked it out, fucking awesome, loved it, bought it right away. Um, but then I found out that going back to research a little bit, that Kitamura has actually been involved with some other things that I really like. Namely Godzilla Final Wars. Some of the actors involved in this movie were part of Final Wars in like different smaller roles. But he also did Midnight Meat Train, if you remember that, with Bradley Cooper in 2008. And then 2012, if you've never seen this film, I know it's kind of lower budget all, but it's really good. It's called No One Lives, stars Luke Evans in a much darker role, but the movie is really underrated. I really think it's a really good film. One of my favorites from Luke Evans, actually. But yeah, so check those out if you can. But we also have actors here, Tak Sakaguchi, and he's playing our guy. Let me just get these names right. He's playing prisoner KSC 303. Then we have Hideo Sakaki, who's playing the man in this. And then we have Chieko Misaka, and she's playing the girl. They don't really give them real names in this, pretty much. Now, two other characters in here that I thought were very interesting. Obviously, the first one is Kenji Matsuda. He's playing the Yakuza leader. Like we have this group of Yakuza army. It's not really army, but just Yakuza group that shows up early in the film, and it's where pretty much we get into the present. So there's really like the way the film goes, it goes from past, present to future in terms of like everything that's going on in the film. And then we also have Kazuhito Oba. And now his character is very interesting because like I find him very interesting as far as a character in this movie, but you don't see like a ton of him, but you see enough of him to say, wow, he's kind of an interesting character. He's just very methodical and quiet, but dangerous at the same time. Whereas of Kenji's course, his character is very crazy, aloof, and just nuts in general. But anyway, uh, so basically, you start out. You've got these two criminals that had just escaped from the prison, and one of them is, of course, Sakaguchi's character, and the other guy he's with is meeting up with the Yakuza to basically get away. They're their rides out of that forest during the Forest of Resurrection, which they really don't know too much about it at that point when the story starts. We do have like a bit of a flashback at the beginning where you've got this. The thing is, like, this is almost like reincarnation as well, because we see the similar characters but in different time periods. So it's almost like when we talk about resurrection or even reincarnation, it's almost like these stories are being retold after a while. And so we learned that even the man who actually is already, his whole plot and design here is to get Sakaguchi's character into this place in the modern day so that he can get the blood of him and that girl to open up the portal so he can get that dark presence that is like the prize. And in a lot of ways, it's kind of funny how this stuff kind of plays almost out like Highlander in some ways, but Not quite. It is definitely different. And plus, the thing that's cool about it also is in the Force of Resurrection, as they find out soon enough, once you die there, you start becoming a zombie, and then you can fight and get up, and they can even use guns and swords and stuff. So it's very a unique take on the zombie genre. I love the outfits here. You can see from the past glimpse here of Sakaguchi's character, as well as there's the man in the past. And so these are the two main characters that keep coming together over a period of time. And these rest of these guys are mainly your Yakuza guys that are trying to face the reality that they're in a position or situation that's very quite dangerous. Now, Kenji's character on the right, he's attempting to take over the group and kill the man, but that doesn't really play out the way he wants ultimately because the man has some special abilities, we'll say. Now, the girl, of course, she plays a factor as like, everyone feels like the man feels like he needs her blood to open the portal, but he also needs the prisoner KSC2 to be there as well. So right now, the man is the only one that actually knows the past history, and so same with the girl. She has some like recollections or revision, like she's even though these are modern versions of their old selves. The man and the girl seem to have a bit more idea of what is going on now. Sakaguchi's character, he doesn't really know everything that's going on. He doesn't care. It's a different type of version of himself from the past. So he had to kind of learn. Now there's Oba's character, who I think is very underrated in this film. I really like him a lot in this. So kind of funny. But there's a lot of cool martial arts in this, a lot of cool samurai looking stuff. Choreography is awesome. Gunfights, of course, it's got a little bit of everything. And gung fu, samurai sword work, martial arts fighting in here. And then you got zombies. And even to some degree, like I really don't quite know for 100% certainty, but almost vampirism too, because the man ends up biting the neck of one of the girl assassins that comes to help out the group. And even though you don't see like fangs or anything, you kind of either she's being bitten by him who's a zombie himself, or he has just some way of like being like a vampire to some degree, and almost giving her immortal power, because he does ask her at one point, like, would you rather die and rot, or would you like to be immortal and eternal life? And she says, of course, eternal life. Yeah. And you kind of think that at first that she's going to be like, his lady or something on the side, but there's really not much in the way of too much romance outside of Sakaguchi and the girl who have a past history together. And it's funny because these guys, I think these two here mainly were playing zillions of some sort. Maybe Kenji might have, or not Kenji, Hideo here might have been actually on the Otengo, excuse me. Hey, come on, get out of there. Sorry, my cats are just driving me nuts. There's the girl, of course. I love the swords in this too. They say, from what I saw in some of the trivia, the sword work in here was something they used in one of the Metal Gear Solid games later on, like the sword fighting and the looks a little bit. So they took inspiration from this film. Also, something to point out also is that, and this is something that Olvin, if he watches this, will really appreciate, because he might even recognize some of these guys. Hideo here, who plays the man, as well as Kenji, the really crazy guy. They've actually been in a lot of the Kamen Rider or Kamen Rider shows and stuff like that. So they've played characters in there. So all of them would probably recognize them a little bit from those films and episodes and stuff. Let me see. Yeah, like Oba, he was in Final Wars. He was one of the Gotengo crew members. Now Chieko, she was in some other stuff, but not really in the Godzilla or anything like that. But she's been in a lot of other stuff outside of Versus. A lot of them were working together, I guess, after this film with Kitamura on some other projects that he did, obviously. And so, But I thought it was kind of neat that a lot of these guys were on the Kamen Rider series and stuff like that. So if you're familiar with that stuff, I'm not as familiar with it as Olvin is, but he's a big fan of that stuff. And he'd probably appreciate that a lot of these guys showed up in this particular film, which is one of the best films of all time for me. It's like, as far as like zombies and sword fighting and stuff like it, it's very unique. It's a nice take on it, very great acting. It's a lot of fun. And it's actually what I really do appreciate about Kitamura here is that this is like a 2-hour film. So it's like, it doesn't drag. It's very interesting. Even gets crazy towards the end when we go into a future version of the guys facing each other again. But I really find it kind of cool how he did this film, and it's just unique to itself. And I thought it'd be worth kind of talking about and just letting know people who haven't heard of it or seen it to go check it out, because it's fucking great. I just really, really appreciate the film. But yeah, there you go. Certainly worth checking out. Just cool stuff. Great special effects with the gore as well. It's not CGI, like I can tell. It looks pretty legit to me in terms of the practical effects. But check it out. Let me know your thoughts. Have you seen it? Let me know how you felt about it. And hit the like and subscribe. And I'll see you later on the Lone Wolf Metal Tavern Radio podcast.